And now for our last segment, a cool 7-part lesson on the art of beat juggling, and who better to teach it than the legendary DMC champion, turntablist extraordinaire, P-Trix.
The next thing I'm going to get into is the basic fundamentals of beat juggling. With beat juggling, it's a lot different from scratching. With scratching, there's certain techniques and there's a certain way to do it. With beat juggling, there's a million different variations of patterns you could do. What beat juggling is, first of all, is you're taking like one record. Let's say right here I have Impeach the President by the Honey Drippers. And I have that one bar of sounds. And I have 2 copies of that on both sides. And what I'm going to do is going to use that one bar right there and rearrange all the sounds on there and make a whole new composition. With beat juggling, the first thing you want to do is pick the sounds or the sentence that you want to use. And when you find that, you want to mark the record. And here, I like to mark my records with a kick or the beginning of the bar always starting at needle, which is like 2 o'clock, which I have here is a little sticker to cue me on that point, because you won't be using headphones for this because everything will be very fast and simultaneous. So again, here we have the bar I'm going to use. And as you can see here, the mark is even with the needle is where it's going to start. With this break right here, it's a 1-bar break. And in 1 bar, there's 4 beats, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4. But when I do beat juggles, I like to cut it in half because there's normally sounds on every half beat, and I like to number them. It's an easy way to arrange everything. So let's say you have 1 is the first kick, 2 is the hi-hat, 3 is the snare, 4 is the following, this hit right here. And you got 5, 6, 7 is the last snare, and 8 is this last horn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And with those sounds, with the numbering system, it'll make it easier for you to know what sounds I'm going to be using. Now that we know the song or sample that we're going to use, the first thing you want to learn how to do is backspin. As you can see, backspinning is just bringing the record back to its beginning point while the other record's playing. So you're just simply looping the bar. Now here's making a beat juggle at the beat tempo, which is the same tempo that the song is originally, but rearranging it. That's just another pattern. Let me show you how to make the beat slower, and this is a technique that's called tapping out the record, or just tapping. Again, that's. And what you're doing in tapping is just you're pausing the record in between every hit. Like I said before, you had all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're pausing in between each one. Now that you know backspinning and tapping, I'm going to do them simultaneously, where I'm backspinning and slowing down the tempo by tapping out. Now that you learned a little bit of what you need to know before you beat juggle, I'm going to show like a very basic variation of tapping out and backspinning and using both records simultaneously. For this first patterns, I'm just going to use the first 4 parts, or mostly just the 1, 2, 3, and the 4. So you got the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. And we're just going to use that on both sides and make a slower beat juggle. For that last pattern I did, on the left side, on this record right here, I only used the number 1 and the number 3, which is this kick and that snare. And on this right side, I use just the number 2, which is the hi-hat. And together that pattern again was. I just explained to you how to do a broken down beat juggling pattern, and I'm going to show you like a technique of doing a sped up beat juggling pattern, making it kind of like an electro beat. And for that, on this record, I'm going to use the number 1, which is the first kick on the right side. And on the left side, I'm going to use the number 3, which is snare. And I'm just going to go back and forth using those 2 samples a little bit faster to make the tempo fast, kind of like a drummer. And that's a sped up beat juggling pattern. With what you just seen, that's just like really basic patterns and just one simple pattern of like a slow tempo, a normal tempo, and a fast tempo of a beat juggle. With beat juggling, there's a million different things you could do. On each record, there's probably like 100 sounds in its own that you could rearrange and put where you want to put it. And with the mixers here and like the styles that people are doing today, you could do beat juggling and scratching simultaneously, making new sounds. You could do different effects using like EQs on the mixer, or even do like transforms in the middle of your beat juggles. You just got to come up with your own style and ideas. There's a million different things you could do. You just got to sit at home, practice, and try to rearrange things like the way you want it to sound, because that's what it is. You're just composing your own song, taking it from what it is and making it what you want it to be. So I'm going to show you a demonstration of a crazy routine that I made, just using different styles and techniques to make a beat juggle.
Here's what some turntable masters had to say when asked, what advice could you give to aspiring DJs?
To get into the study of different types of music, instead of just like trying to like gain knowledge or inspiration off of just like hip hop and just scratching within itself. Just get into like listening to jazz, blues, rock, you know. It'll broaden your horizons to like open up to new avenues of trying to develop scratch art.
I mean, you gotta find that soul in you, you know, what kind of music you love. I mean, rock, funk, soul, country. I mean, it's not, the turntable is not for just hip hop. I mean, that's where it came from, but now these days, I mean, if you wanna, you know, mix, you know, something that you like, you know, go to your thrift store and you could buy a country record if you want, you know, and you could mess around with that, find samples and make beats. I mean, this is, like I said, it's endless, you know what I mean? Like, to be like a scratch DJ, all I could say for that point of view is, you know, stay home. If you have, you know, try to get as much as time as you can, lock yourself inside your room, practice. I mean, imagine yourself rocking a crowd in your room, because one day that's gonna be true.
Just keep practicing, learn music. You need to learn music. So I advise you guys to start mixing, so you know the structures of music and all that stuff.
I would say learn to think for yourself. The videos, it's abundant, you know, all the battle videos, so you can pick it up and watch them, and you'll naturally get influenced by that, because we learn by example and comparison, you know. So you pick up a video, that's the example. The comparison is yourself, you know. So you learn off of that. But if you don't know how to think for yourself, then you're just going to be a little clone or something, you know. And with time, as you evolve and mature, you know, you can break away from that. But if you're aware of it when you're just starting off, then you'll progress at a faster rate.
Well, I always like to tell kids that are just learning, or just anyone that wants to learn about this, is just to learn everything from the bottom, from the basics, from the very basic, from learning how to buy a record, you know, learning how to beat mix, like what Eric taught, and just like messing with all different types of music, you know, try to learn about the history of the music, the history of DJing, and, you know, try to do, like, there's all variations of DJing, you know, like what we were showing from scratch, turntablist tricks, you know, learn how to mix, rock a party, try making a mixtape, and, you know, just try to be able to do it all, be well-rounded, and it'll all help out in the other areas as well, too. And, you know, just for a DJ, like, your tools of the trade is, of course, equipment, but the food that the turntables needs are records, and I feel like you should buy records religiously, and just, you know, just keep buying records, learn about the records, and that's it, and just take it from there, and, you know, you should be on your way.
Practice and more practice. You know, I remember when I was first DJing, I was so dedicated and committed to learning the art of DJing. I used to spend anywhere from 6 to 8 to as much as 12 hours a day, every single day in my bedroom, and then later on in my studio, just practicing my skills and honing my technique. Now, I'm not talking about practicing any one particular skill, like scratching, for example, which actually leads me to the second part of the answer. That part being that it's important to be well-rounded in your DJing. You know, what am I talking about? Covering all the aspects that we talked about in this video, for example. Everything from scratching to beat juggling to beat mixing, and even knowing how to use your equipment, how to set up your equipment, perhaps maybe even service your equipment. You know, knowing how to set up your needles, how to balance your tone arms, how do your mixers work, how your sound systems work, knowing the difference between a single amplifier and a double amplifier system, knowing how to use a crossover, an equalizer, or even a big mixing console. All those things come into play when you want to become a DJ. The third part of the answer would be particularly aimed at DJs that are into playing for nightclubs or parties, events, any kind of undergrounds or raves if you're into the dance music. The most important part to remember when doing that sort of a DJing is that you're there to entertain the crowd. What that means is that people's taste, their likes and dislikes must be placed first and above your own. You got to remember that you're there to entertain them. And in fact, you're probably going to be even getting paid to entertain them, which makes it double important. If that means you got to put your own personal tastes and preferences aside for that particular moment so that the people that paid to come in and see you and have a good time and listening to what you're doing, then so be it. And if you can learn how to enjoy that part of the DJing aspect, instead of only focusing on the stuff that you want to do and showing off your technical skills on the turntables, then in my estimation and my experience, you've reached the ultimate epitome of being a well-rounded professional DJ.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for joining us on our tour of the fundamentals of scratching and mixing. I hope all you beginners out there get some great information today that'll definitely help take your skills to the next level. And remember, like anything else you want to do well, it just takes practice. But you know you can do it. Until next time, this is Richard Spider-Bonnen saying practice and conquer. Peace.